Suck me. We're done with the bipartisan bill.
It takes to agree on how to build a house. It makes me think it could go on for a long time, but we'll see.
That's why we're
gainfully employed. Yeah.
Good evening.
All right, let's see what Tucker Carlson has to say about all this.
Welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Joe Biden's publicist just announced with a straight face he plans to run again in 2024. We'll address that at some length tomorrow, but first, another crisis in the news. So after the killings in Buffalo and Uvalde a few weeks ago, you began to hear people on television talk about something called red flag laws. The government, they informed us, could actually end mass shootings tomorrow simply by taking the guns away from mass shooters before they commit mass shootings. It's not complicated.
Dude, I love that they straight up were like, yo, mental health's a problem. And then they were like, okay, let's do something about it. Like, let's make sure that people with like mental health issues don't get guns. And Tucker was like, no, actually, everyone who is psychotic needs a gun. I will literally give 3 guns to someone who's schizophrenic or suicidal. I want to give more guns to fucking people who want to kill themselves and others with it. Fuck you! I'm American! I'm motherfucking American, dude! This is what America is all about! Fuck yourself! You think mentally ill people can't have guns? What are you talking about? They need more guns! They're fighting demons internally and also externally every day, brother.
In fact, it's such an obvious solution that you had to wonder why we weren't already doing that. Who does want to prevent mass shootings? Well, only the gun lobby. Everybody else cares.
Can we do this without stigmatizing people with mental illness, please? Suck my entire penis, you fucking weirdo, dude. Oh my God. If you're suicidal, don't have a gun. You should not have a gun, okay? Why? Because I don't want you to fucking kill yourself. 60% of suicides are happening with guns in America, okay? Like more than half of the fucking gun violence or gun fatalities in this country are suicidal people. Fuck you. I'm ableist. I'm ableist as fuck. I'm the most ableist motherfucker you've ever seen, bitch. You don't understand, dude. You don't fucking understand. I don't give a fuck if you're neurodivergent and a minor, okay? I don't want you to kill yourself with a gun. Holy fuck. I am the most ableist motherfucker when it comes to gun control, when it comes to fucking driving vehicles. If you're fucking blind, you can't drive a car. And when it comes to the fucking politicians. I'm ableist. Ha! This is my policy, bitch. Suck me. Suck me. Half this fucking chat is literally like, I am mentally ill. And if I had a gun, I would have killed myself already. And you're over here being like, sorry, sweaty. I'm fucking mentally ill. And can you not stigmatize me right now? I should be able to have a weapon. Shut the fuck up. Whew. They mean to say, could you say it much more nicely? I don't give a fuck. Yeah, dude. And that's why I don't want you to fucking kill yourself. I wouldn't want you to kill yourself even if you were a hater, though, okay? So what the fuck do you mean? Do you know we're your fans, right? I know. Okay? Look at me. I don't think I should have a gun either, for the record, okay? Bro, schizophrenic people aren't always violent. Law just as violent as anyone else. Can you fucking say unhinged or something? The density your skull holds is unmeasurable, super annoying. Ban me? Oh my God. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. No, you're right, dude. You're right. Everyone should be able to have a gun, okay? Even if you decide not to take your medication, you should be able to have a gun. Totally. You got it, dude. I don't think bipolar people should have a gun. I don't think schizophrenic people should have a gun. Okay? It's for your own fucking safety. It doesn't mean that you're going to fucking use it on other people, but stop language policing! I am ableist, okay? I'm ableist. If you're a disability activist, when it comes to fucking guns, you can suck me. I don't care. You don't need a fucking gun. Also, you're unproductive, and I hate you, okay? Straight up. If you're okay. If you're activism revolves around aesthetics and centers you in every conversation, okay? Sorry, you're not a good person. You might think you're a good person. You might actually legitimately have issues with a lot of mental health complications, and I think you should be able to get, the help necessary. But ultimately, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. You're just a narcissistic person on top of that, okay? Because we're having a conversation about gun control. We're having a conversation about the necessity for red flag laws. We're having a conversation about, like, if you have significant, severe mental illness, you should not have a gun. And you fucking turn around and you go, actually, Sweaty, your statements are hurting my feelings. Okay? Okay, I don't give a fuck. Fuck your feelings, okay? Like I said, I don't think blind people should drive. Do you see the fucking blind motherfuckers in the chat being like, oh, actually, Sweaty, that is ableist? No. Shut the fuck up. You are not the main character. I know how your parents probably fucking told you how special you are all the goddamn time. You are not the main character in the chat. Someone needs to yell at you and fucking tell you shut the fuck up every now and then.
Brave people of Ukraine. Red flag laws seem like one of those ideas that no decent person could possibly oppose. You want crazy people to have guns? Of course you don't. Who would?
Guy messaged me and asked to make sure it's totally clear you only think the mentally unwell shouldn't have guns? What? Okay, dude. Yes. Yes. Also, if you're this guy, you probably also have undiagnosed unwellness, okay? Fuck. Do I see the blind people in the chat? How about you change? You stop picking on the blind? I'm not schizophrenic. I work in the field, and you're perpetuating stigma. I want to fucking video game myself every day that I talk to people in this chat, okay? Every day, I inch closer and closer to just video gaming, okay? Holy fuck, dude. Holy fuck. Dude, you are so fucking leftist, dude. You got me, okay? You got me. How do you manage to garner a viewer base that is this ridiculous? Man works in the field but said schizophrenic, shaking my head. Not even person-centered language.
So naturally, you're for red flag laws. And in fact, we may soon get...
Like, chatters are unironically siding with Tucker Carlson, dude, by being like, listen, dude, Sweaty, you're fucked up by singling out people with mental illness when it comes to a fucking policy provision that revolves around people with mental illness not getting access to weapons, not only because they might be a danger to other people, but more importantly, they might be a danger to themselves, okay? And you're literally in here being like, no, Sweaty, actually the main problem in this situation is that we're talking about mental illness, okay? This is just one way to limit people having access to weapons, and it's a reasonable fucking way to do it. Mental health evaluations is a necessity for gun ownership, along with character references and along with a fuckload of training. It is only one part of a gigantic fuck up and a gigantic problem, and you're over here fucking advocating like you're the recipient of the Swanson frozen food dynasty. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Do you have your bow tie too tight or something? Is there no access to fucking air going into your brain currently? The fuck is wrong with you?
Red flag laws across the country. So what would that mean if we do? Well, two things you should...
Chatter be like, I work in the field, and I personally prescribe an AR-15 to every single one of my clients. Some of them had schizophrenia. It's okay, though. They should be able to fucking shoot cool guns and go pew, pew, pew. Okay? That's a cool thing that I'm doing. What are you doing, Sweaty?
No. First, red flag laws
and it's not
will
just
not
schizophrenia
end
either.
Mass shootings, but red flag laws will end due process. Due process is a simple concept, but it's the key to everything that is good about America. In our system of justice, citizens cannot be punished without first being charged with a crime. Politicians cannot just decide to hurt you, throw you in handcuffs, lock you in jail, seize your property, simply because they don't like how you think or how you vote. No. Before they punish you, they have to go through a formal process in which they describe which specific law you broke and exactly how you broke it. They have to prove it. For serious crimes with big penalties, the government has to convince a group of your fellow citizens first. It's called a grand jury. And this government must convince them that you deserve to be punished or they cannot proceed. None of this is new. This is the way we've done things in America for more than...
Tucker Carlson would literally be like, are you an undocumented citizen? You deserve to go to the fucking gas chamber, okay, without any sort of due process whatsoever, but then turns around and is like, oh, do you want to take away someone's guns? Actually, where's the due process? Like, typical fucking libertarian dickhead attitude here. It's like, well, no, actually, you know.
200 years. And it's exactly why we have and have always had the fairest justice system in the world. People move to this country from all over the globe to benefit from it. But red flag laws will end this. Under red flag laws, the government doesn't have to prove you did anything wrong in order to strip you of your most basic rights. All that's required to punish you is a complaint, possibly even an anonymous complaint, in which somebody says you seem dangerous. Now
that's not how that works, okay? And that's not how that works at all. So here's how it works. And this is important to talk about, okay? So red flag laws aren't great either. Like the way that they are, the way that they're set up differs state by state. There aren't that many states that currently have it, okay? There's also one state that has an anti-red flag law. So let's take a look at it. It permits variously police, family members, coworkers, and others to petition a state court to order the temporary removal of firearms from a person who they may believe present a danger to others or themselves. Okay, one of the ways that you can do it is if you if you put someone under a the fucking term for it in like California, for example, if you get institutionalized, even if it's not your, if you get institutionalized without 5150 is the take, not 5051. But if you get institutionalized in the state of California, you're put on a list that makes it so that you are no longer able to purchase a weapon. Okay, like. Now that is really aggressive, though. Like that in and of itself is like is not enough. Because red flag law should be triggered when you're not placed under a psychiatric hold. When red flag laws should be able to be triggered way before you're placed under a psychiatric hold, because a psychiatric hold, the barrier for a psychiatric hold is like super fucking high. You need to be a clear present danger to yourself and others. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to happen for many people. The Uvalde shooter and all these other fucking shooters would not have been placed under a psychiatric hold. And even then, it doesn't work, right? So red flag laws need to change internally as well. So in 1999, Connecticut was the first to enact the red flag law following a rampage shooting at the Connecticut Lottery. It was followed by Indiana, which adopted its legislation called Jake Laird's Law. After an Indianapolis police officer was fatally shot by a mentally disturbed man in 2005, subsequent red flag laws were adopted by California, Washington, and Oregon. California state legislature was the first to enact the red flag law, allowing family members to petition state courts to remove weapons from a person deemed a threat after Elliot Rodger committed a mass shooting in Isla Vista. The California law also permits law enforcement officials to petition the court for an order for the removal of guns from an individual for up to 12 months. So California has some of the best versions of this, and it's still not enough. It still doesn't fucking meet the barrier, basically, of like what constitutes for a red flag law, especially unless you are under a psychiatric hold, okay? And like I mentioned, a psychiatric hold is like very difficult and also somewhat, dare I say, in certain circumstances, unjustifiable. Okay, so there's a separate problem there as well. But not a lot of states have it. Okay, there are some proposed and pending legislation around the red flag laws. Other state legislatures have considered similar ones. Arizona has a red flag bill previously died in the Arizona legislature, but in 2019, Governor Doug Ducey renewed pressure on legislative Republicans to pass the law in the wake of the shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. North Carolina since 2018 have red flag bills introduced by North Carolina Democratic legislatures that have been defeated or stalled in committee by the Republican-controlled Senate. Not a surprise there. Ohio, after the Dayton shooting, Mike DeWine announced that he wanted Ohio's Republican-controlled legislature to pass a red flag law. 2 months later, however, DeWine retreated from this proposal, of course. It goes on your actual record when you get a security background check, both voluntary and involuntary are noted. I don't know, I might be mistaken on this, but if you get a voluntary psychiatric hold, that doesn't stop you from getting a gun. For the record, pretty sure. So that's what I mean. You have to literally be involuntarily institutionalized, which is super, super, super high. Like, I remember listening to an interview with a psychiatrist in, I think it was in California, talking about how like there are people that she talks to on a daily basis who fit the mold of like a school shooter, who are deeply disturbed, incredibly isolated, but they're not actually meeting the fucking bar for someone that deserves to be institutionalized, like someone that needs to be institutionalized. So obviously it's really, really difficult to figure out, especially because like involuntary institutionalization is like really, really just it's a really complicated process that also has some. It's a really complicated process that is considered incredibly inhumane. The problem with these red flag proposals in the red states is that they can be used to target Republicans simply for their political views without taking into account the importance of the top of the hour ad break that comes every hour. Fuck you. God damn it, dude. Okay, here. At the top of the hour, Chatter's right. You get a 6-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for fucking free with the Twitch Prime. Okay? By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's the 1-minute ad break now. Someone in the chat was talking about how like they're 30 years old and they also have mental illness, and that they should get off my ass in the chat, and I agree with that person. Where is it? People be like, dude, Hasan, you don't understand. Like, people act like I don't see and deal with people with like, legitimate mental health complications on a fucking daily basis. It is very frustrating. I have no formal training whatsoever, okay, in this field. And I have to deal with like more fucking mental illness than most social workers do. Obviously, I'm well paid for it regardless. But like, don't act like I don't see it. Like I don't see it every fucking day in my DMs or in my daily life. So shut the fuck up. I'm very glad. I want none of those people to have guns, okay? Hello, chat. Mentally ill and neurodivergent person here. I'm 30, so do it that way you will. Please stop coming to Hasan for speaking a harsh truth. If you actually encounter someone off their meds and how absolutely horrifying it can be for themselves and others, add a gun to the mix. Please don't be so reactionary. Unless the shoe fits, then wear it. Why do you make extreme statements like that? You see more mental illness than social workers? I mean, so here, I'm a social worker, but I agree with you. Why do you make extreme statements like that? You see more mental illness than social workers? I mean, I do encounter it because I'm very accessible on the internet. 31-year-old medically retired veteran, bipolar man who's never been a danger to anyone but myself. I should not be allowed to own a gun. Yep, there you go. It seems like radlibs are the chatters that piss you off the most, and I totally get it. They're such smarmy, pretentious nerds. Yes, radlibs piss me off more than fucking reactionaries do, because I can fix the fucking mind of a reactionary person. But radlibs have like done the work and have decided to arrive at being the most annoying person in every fucking room by design, because they like to hear their own voice. It is a deeply narcissistic desire to come into a community like this and fucking try to outwoke the person who is talking on the podium. It's just like, you're not a good person. You're a bad person. Straight up. You're literally a bad person. It's true. And everybody knows it. You ban the conservatives all the time? Yeah, I mean, I ban the radlibs too. Like, I just want the fucking radlibs to I don't know, go to any other community on the internet for like 3.5 seconds and experience what it's like, so that they try to go clean that shit up instead of right here. A place that is like otherwise incredibly welcome for people experiencing mental health complications, unless I guess we're talking about red flag laws. You know what I mean? Like, so stupid. Radlibs are always speaking for the groups they claim to advocate for when they're just self-serving narcissistic jokesters who don't actually care. They do this to queer folk, POC folk, mentally challenged folks. They destroy feminism. I hate leftist culture. Sometimes gatekeeping toxic cops who don't listen or practice anything they advocate for. Yes. Anyway, I already ran the top of the hour ad break, by the way, for those of you who's still trying to debate me. They refuse. You're the most popular political streamer on Twitch, and you don't react to their favorite streamer, so they press you here. Yeah, it's just... No, but like, there's a lot of fucking people that are in here that are literally like 30-month goddamn subscribers who are doing this.
In which the writer, who's also a university professor, goes and lives
Oh,
in
I
a
watched
TikTok...
this already. I love this video. I fucking love this video. Here, hold on.
I want to talk about this piece in Harper's in which the writer, who's also a university professor, goes and lives in a TikTok hype house for a while, kind of in an attempt to understand the despair and the confusion that he sees in a lot of his own university students who are the same age as these influencers and who are also kind of their target audience. I want to read to you from one part of it where one of the influencers talks to the writer about the political importance of TikTok. The influencer says, "I wasn't an 8-year-old kid with a TikTok seeing what everyone else is seeing. Now everyone feels like they have a voice, and I think that's what people are afraid of." "Wait," I say, "who do you think is afraid?" "The government," Brandon says. "You think the government is scared?" I ask. "Yeah, because on TikTok we have voices," Brandon says. "We're a whole nation of voices. That should scare me." Not to sound like an English professor or anything, but as a professor of English, I can't help thinking of Walter Benjamin's The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction. Benjamin suggests that fascistic governments aim to maintain the status quo by providing citizens with the means to express themselves aesthetically without reforming their lives materially. Thus, the aforementioned government that Brandon thinks TikTokers have scared shitless actually, as Benjamin writes, sees its salvation in granting expression to the masses, but on no account granting them rights. More to the point, any countercultural voltage these influencers purport to possess gets nullified by the fact that they have clear incentives not to talk about controversial matters, lest they get dropped by their brands. "I don't talk about politics at all," Brandon says. "It's like there's always another opinion. It's always better to be neutral. I feel like everybody avoids politics on social media. Besides that, though, everyone feels like they have a voice. The writer then goes on to compare having a social media career to having an academic career, which is super, super interesting. I want to talk about this piece in Harper's in which the writer, who's also a university professor,
Don't say left is meme. I mean, it's true though. It is true. It's long, but it's long, but it's true. People in this fucking chat do the exact same fucking bullshit every goddamn day, all the goddamn time. It's you do it from a perspective of not having any fucking you do it because you're just powerless. You do it because you know that systemic change is virtually impossible to achieve, and you want to be a fucking narcissist and selfishly derail any kind of fucking movement, any kind of conversation that doesn't center around your own personal experience or whatever the fuck you personally consider to be the most important thing at the time. We're all narcissistic little man children, okay? It's the truth. It's just the fucking truth. And you selfishly don't want other people to... You're the most annoying person in that fucking group when you do that. Like... And in a normal social scenario, you would probably be yelled at by other people in your group. Someone would check you. But on the internet, you're anonymous, and you can make multiple sock accounts, and you can kind of hide your personality. You can kind of hide it. And that level of like being the annoying, smarmy little dipshit, that's not Benjamin's point, lol. I know that's not Benjamin's point, by the way. But that this is something that it is tagged along in a similar capacity to people that operate the way that they do. Benjamin's point in this situation is great, though. I mean, it's valid. It's true. His point overall is about like how people feel as though they have access to communication. People feel like their voices are being heard, but it's never about material shit. It's always about like nonsensical bullshit, and that the real political problems, for example, are oftentimes incentivized against. You can have an opinion on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. Talk about it all day, every day. God forbid you have a take that, undermines the hierarchy that is pre-existing and gives comfort to so many people.
That complaint doesn't come from a grand jury. It can come from anyone, including someone who hates you or someone who simply doesn't like your politics. It doesn't matter because no jury will ever see it. On the basis of that unproven complaint, you lose your freedom and your ability to defend yourself and your family. Now, how could that possibly happen in this country? Well, the Supreme Court has said unequivocally that it can't happen here. A year ago, the Supreme Court ruled in a case called Caniglia versus Strom. Police in Rhode Island had seized the personal firearms of a 68-year-old man whose wife had called in a complaint against him after they had an argument. That man had committed no crime. He'd never been convicted of a crime, and he was judged by doctors to be sane. And yet the authorities took away his guns anyway. He sued under the Fourth Amendment, and the case went all the way to the Supreme Court. The result was not even close. The Supreme Court sided with the gun owner in that case in a rare 9-0 decision. That means that every justice, liberal and conservative, agreed that authorities cannot just seize your property or throw you in jail because they don't like the way you look or because someone is mad at you. So red flag laws are unconstitutional, period. We don't need to guess about that. And yet the Biden administration is pushing them anyway. Why? Because they don't care. How is Joe Biden able to ignore a Supreme Court decision from last year? Simple. He declares an emergency and does what he wants. He's done it before. The White House did the same thing with the eviction moratorium and vaccine mandates last year. It's an emergency. We don't have time for due process. So you can see why Democrats love emergencies. Nothing gives.
Tucker Carlson is never going to experience having like someone who is unwell in his immediate family having access to a fucking arsenal that they can use on Tucker Carlson. That's the reason why he is so fucking that's the reason why he is so calmly dismantling something that is otherwise like a given. Okay? Tucker Carlson's children are not going to fucking get his AR-15, which I doubt he even has at his own house, which I'm certain he probably puts in a safe if he does have one. Take it out of the safe and in a you know, fucking heated moment, turn the gun on Tucker and fucking shoot him in the head. That's not going to happen. They're also not going to grab the gun in a suicidal moment and fucking kill themselves with it. Okay? They're not going to do that. Tucker knows that they're not going to do that. And that's precisely why he can talk about the millions of other people that are at risk of this, the hundreds of thousands of people that do actually do exactly what I'm saying. Almost fucking 40,000 people died of gun violence. 60% of that is suicides with a gun. He don't give a fuck. He doesn't care. And neither do the fucking radlibs in the chat, by the way. The radlibs who are like, sanitize your language about gun control when you're talking about mental illness, brother. Suck my dick. I talk like a fucking normal person. And this is what a fucking normal person says. If you are suicidal, you should not have a gun. Not because you're going to point it at others, but you're going to point it at yourself. And I don't want you to kill yourself with a gun. There's enough empirical evidence to show that if you are suicidal and you have a gun, you might actually fucking follow through with it in a very successful capacity.
Gives them more power more quickly. They've declared the atrocities in Uvalde and Buffalo an emergency, unlike the daily mass shootings in Baltimore and Chicago, cities they run and whose killings they therefore assiduously ignore. And on the basis of that emergency, they can move forward with gun confiscation. So the White House now wants Congress to pass a law paying the states to enact red flag laws. And here's the amazing part. At least 10 Republican senators are backing this effort from the Biden White House. And that means this is virtually guaranteed.
Bro, Tucker, Republicans are the ones who said this is mental illness. Okay? You can't say it's mental illness, and then when someone's like, okay, let's do something about mental illness, you go, no, fuck that. Well, you can, actually, and you can be a fucking Republican and do that all the time, which is precisely what Tucker's doing right here.
Guaranteed to pass. What's their reasoning? Well, here's one of those senators, John Cornyn of Texas.
You have colleagues in the other chamber who are already coming out against this before you even put out a proposal.
I'm not surprised. Some people will not want to touch this with a 10-foot pole because they're concerned about the politics of it. But I think this is a time where hopefully we can transcend that personal political interest and do what we think will save lives. To me, that's the ultimate goal. We can do something sensible that does not undermine the rights of law-abiding citizens under the Constitution to keep and bear arms.
So there are two things to notice about that soundbite, which is so revealing. The first is the use of the term sensible. Now, that is a Democratic talking point approved by the DNC. It's sensible gun safety regulation. So here you have John Cornyn taking Nancy Pelosi's language. He's doing it on purpose. And then you hear him describe anyone who disagrees with him. Why would you disagree with John Cornyn? Well, according to John Cornyn, anyone who disagrees with him is, quote, concerned about the politics of red flag laws. Not the wisdom of red flag laws,
Thank you,
not whether or not
Shaman,
red flag laws are constitutional, but the grubby politics. In other words, says John Cornyn, anyone who disagrees with me is low and unethical. Now, if you're not used to hearing liberal demagoguery like that from Republicans, you should know that John Cornyn is not the only one engaging in it. He is joined in this effort by Tom Tillis of North Carolina, Roy Blunt of Missouri, Rob Portman of Ohio, Richard Burr of North Carolina, Mitt Romney, of course, of Utah, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Susan Collins of Maine, needless to say, Lindsey.
Tucker Carlson's just flexing. I think he's trying to see if he can, like, undermine this, like, bipartisan agenda, which already isn't enough to begin with, but I think he's just personally flexing in this situation. I think he's just testing it out. He's testing the waters to see if he can, like, successfully tank this shit. And for the record, I think he can. The saddest part of that is that I think he can.
Graham of South Carolina, always on board for any bad idea, and Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. It's particularly interesting to see Lindsey Graham on board, the person who encouraged Capitol Hill police to shoot more Trump voters, who has no problem with violence, whose life is organized around worshiping it, telling you that you can't have a gun. Now, all the senators whose names we just read, many of whom are retiring, so they're beyond the reach of voters, have the backing of the top Republican in the Senate, Mitch McConnell. So what exactly are they backing when they back red flag laws? Well, we can take Florida's experience as an example. In Florida, the police can seize guns from people who pose a, quote, significant danger based on, quote, any relevant evidence. That's it. Any relevant evidence. The law raises some obvious questions. And the most obvious is, if you can seize people's guns without proving that they committed a crime, why can't you imprison them without proving they committed a crime? If you can take their guns, why can't you take their homes? Why can't you empty their bank accounts? Ooh, sound paranoid? Alex Jones stuff? That just happened in Canada. So what stops it from happening here? We already know the authorities are abusing the red flag laws.
God, he's such a good propagandist, dude. Holy shit. First of all, this already fucking happens in America, you idiot. Police do this already. And it's completely unacceptable, except for when it's an undocumented citizen that it's happening to in what is known as a constitution-free zone, 100 miles within any border or any airport. So, like, pretty much the entirety of the fucking United States. The Customs and Border Patrol could do that. Tucker Carlson, of course, is not going to talk about that. Unlawful search and seizure. Violation that the Supreme Court agreed upon. A clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. Tucker's never going to do that. He's never going to talk about that because he likes that. That's being done to Tucker Carlson's enemies. How psychotic is it that, like, you can't even fucking be like, hey, man, you shouldn't have access to this deadly weapon. You shouldn't have access to a deadly weapon. You've been saying you're going to shoot up a school. Tucker's like, no, that is un-American. If you're killing animals and you're saying you're going to fucking murder your classmates and the cops come knocking on your door and say, hey, we're going to take your weapons away, that's unjustifiable. That's unconstitutional. And if you have a fucking problem with the way I'm using my language, once again, I hope the cops come breaking down your fucking door and take your guns away too, okay? Straight up, dude. Oh my God. Nothing gets me harder than thinking about a mentally ill person losing access to weapons. Do you understand? Read my fucking lips, okay? If you are mentally ill, I really hope the fucking state comes down, knocking down your fucking door and take your guns away. You dumb bitch. Specifically the type of mental illness that gets you to be a debate pervert in this chat.
Already on the books. Kendra Paris is a lawyer based in Florida who specializes in them. In a recent interview, she said clients who are able to hire lawyers have, quote, vastly higher odds of getting their firearms back from the government. Of course. Laws like this always penalize the weakest. She said courts are taking a, quote, better safe than sorry approach to avoid political blowback, and the police are taking advantage of that. So court records show that cops in Florida often show up to the homes of citizens and present them with, quote, stipulations. If you agree in writing to surrender your firearms, you have a chance of getting them back after a year. Now, as it happens, that's a pretty tempting offer when you have armed people in your living room. But it is, and it remains, and again, we don't need to guess about it because the Supreme Court just ruled on this, it's unconstitutional. And it is for several reasons. It's a clear violation of the search and seizure prohibition in the Fourth Amendment, but it's also applied unfairly. And even the people who wrote our current red flag laws admit that. In New York, for example, Assemblymember Joanne Simon co-sponsored the state's red flag law. Quote, basically, it's all over the place, Simon admitted. You have places where you have 1 filed and other places where it's 38 filed. So how will these laws be applied? Well, of course, they will be applied along political lines, just like everything else currently is in this highly politicized country. So if you don't like someone, if you don't like what someone believes, that person will be a target for unconstitutional search and seizure. Armed authorities showing up in somebody's home and taking their personal property at gunpoint.
You're a Tucker Carlson fanboy? You think Tucker Carlson and I agree on this issue? Are you okay? Tucker Carlson only talks about the fucking police state or, caring about the marginalized when it comes to fucking the government taking their guns away, dude. Holy shit. After they've had a diagnosable fucking, a moment that justifies taking their guns away. Oh my God.
And if you doubt that that will happen, look at this. This is the guy, the very same member of Congress who had sex with a Chinese spy, demanding that cops disarm Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro says things the Chinese government disagrees with. This is from Eric Swalwell. Quote, "Please tell me this lunatic does not own a gun. Reason number 1,578 that America needs red flag laws." Eric Swalwell wrote that. Now, what would qualify as a trigger for gun seizure in the view?
Did Tucker Carlson just say the reason why Eric Swalwell is upset at Ben is because Ben pisses off China? Did Tucker Carlson just say that China hates Ben Shapiro saying that LGBT indoctrination in schools is unacceptable and you should rise up against LGBT indoctrination? Do you really think the Chinese government is do you really think the gay agenda is something that the Chinese government is on board with? If there is such a thing? What an incredible fucking take by Tucker Carlson. He just dropped that in there like it's nothing. Okay? Yes, Eric Swalwell did have sex with a Chinese spy. That's true. Weird listening to this while texting my ex who was right now sheltering in place from an active shooter in Vermont. Listen, dude. Listen. It's just America, baby. That's just America. Anyway, Eric Swalwell did have sex with a Chinese spy. That is true. That part is true. What is really funny is, one, Ben Shapiro's a fucking deranged psychopath who should not have a gun. Okay? He literally says if politicians try to mandate LGBT indoctrination at all schools, then he will pick up a gun. Okay? And Eric Swalwell says, understandably, he should not own a gun. And Tucker Carlson is saying, Ben Shapiro's take here is something that China is not in agreement with. I love that.
Of Eric Swalwell under the red flag laws that he supports and now Republicans in the Senate support. Well, here's the video that Ben Shapiro made that Swalwell thinks qualifies him for a red flag law. Watch.
If you come to tell me that you're going to indoctrinate my kids in particular policy and that I can't pull my kid out of the school and send my kid to a school I want to send them to, that I can't go to the church or synagogue that I want to go to, and if you make that national policy, not just California policy where I can move, but national policy, people are not going to stand for that. I now have two choices. One is to leave the country utterly. Two is to pick up a gun. Those are the only choices that you have left me. And now people are like, oh, this is, how could you say stuff like that? How could you be so extreme? It's not extreme to defend the fundamental rights the Constitution was created in order to protect. These rights pre-exist government.
These rights pre-exist government. Well, actually, our founding documents make that point, which he is merely repeating. But on the basis of effectively quoting the founding documents of the country we live in.
I love that Tucker Carlson just tried to make what Ben Shapiro was saying to be sane, and he still failed, in my opinion. But, he literally said he's going to take a gun. And, he didn't show the other part of the fucking argument where Ben literally says, I'm going to fucking take a gun and I'm going to kill, Beto O'Rourke. Maybe not kill him, but I'm going to threaten Beto O'Rourke with a gun if you try to take my guns away or if you try to do LGBT indoctrination in my school. That is psychotic. If Ben Shapiro was a leftist, Tucker Carlson would be fucking ripping into his asshole. Right-wingers get away with saying stuff like this because they can mask it under the guise of, constitutional protection. Left-wingers can't even get away with a fraction of that because that would be considered hitting the fucking power center. Also, yes, it is pretty funny. Ben will not pick shit up. He's a fucking wimp. That is true.
Live in. Eric Swalwell says the police should show up at Ben Shapiro's house and take his firearms away. Does anybody, even Eric Swalwell, who is deranged, sincerely believe that Ben Shapiro is a violent threat to anyone? No, of course not. Ben Shapiro is an ideological threat, and an ideological threat is the only kind of threat.
Yeah, the only reason why he's not is because he's a pussy. He was right. Okay, Tucker Carlson and I agree on that point. Ben Shapiro's a gigantic pussy. The only thing he's a threat to himself is the only thing he's a threat to is himself. So was Tucker Carlson, by the way.
Threat people like Eric Swalwell actually care about. And you know that when you look at the laws that they're pushing and that Republicans are backing. If these laws were actually designed to fight gun crime, they would, among other things, force prosecutors to enforce existing gun laws against people who are committing all the murders. And it's not Ben Shapiro. In Los Angeles and many other cities, that's not happening.
Oh my God. It's not Ben Shapiro that's doing all the gun murders. Who does he mean is doing all the gun murders? Tucker, elaborate further on what you mean by that. I wonder who he means, dude.
And that's why those criminals openly support the Soros-backed prosecutor, George Gascon. Watch.
I told you last time that he want to hurry up and try to get something did before.
Oh, that's who. Oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting. These guys are the guys who are doing the gun murders. Okay, got it.
They re-elect somebody else besides Gascon and bring back that little the life without parole and the death penalty. If we could get the manslaughter, then manslaughter only carries 6, 9, and 12.
Yeah. So that's just one tape. We could play you video, as we often do, of what's happening in our cities. So what you're looking at is anarcho-tyranny. So people who are favored by the regime can do whatever they want. You vote the right way, commit whatever crimes you want, in jail for 10 minutes, you're out, go do it again, no problem. Baltimore can happen. Mass killings on an ongoing basis for decades, and no one will say a word. But if you're disfavored by the regime, no punishment is too strong, no infraction too small. None of the gun legislation that John Cornyn and these other pompous buffoons who were siding with Nancy Pelosi support, none of that legislation would do anything about the core problem, which is DAs like George Gascon, who are failing to enforce existing gun laws. Gun laws that, by the way, George Gascon himself, to name one example, is breaking. A whistleblower in Gascon's office says he was fired for complaining about Gascon's habit of illegally carrying firearms aboard airplanes. So why haven't the cops red flagged George Gascon and disarmed him? Was anyone going to red flag Hunter Biden, who lied on a federal drug form? Was a drug addict carrying an illegally obtained weapon? No, of course not.
Wait. There is 0% chance I believe that Gascon fucking runs around with a gun in airports. How would that even happen? Like, how? I don't understand. Like, what is he like? Does he have a superpower? When you're the DA, you can avoid fucking TSA screening? Like, I don't get it. Also, you guys know what my take is, okay? I think you should be able to bring a gun to the airport if you want to, and also on a plane. I've defended Madison Cawthorn, friend of the show, for wanting to bring a gun to the airport. It's very cool. You should be able to smoke on planes and also have a gun on you. DA Gascon carried guns on planes and whistleblowers fired, suit says. Took a gun on board commercial flights repeatedly after becoming DA. Fucking cops, man. According to the suit, members of the San Francisco District Attorney's Office of Internal Investigations Association, IA, which included McKenzie, discussed the need to blow the whistle on Gascon's potential criminal violations in early 2017. I don't believe this, dude. This is pretty funny, though. The issue is flying armed while not being a peace officer and flying armed when there was no need for law enforcement purposes. Are you allowed to do that? Like, can you do that? Dude, look. That's the funniest part about Gascon is that, like, people are like, oh, he's such a libtard. He's such a libtard. Bro, he's still a cop, brother. Like, he's still a fucking cop. Okay? Allowed and can are real different. I just don't think he can. Asmongold and his 100K viewers are right now still watching the Amber Heard case on stream. Meanwhile, things like this are going on. Yeah, I mean, those people, it's probably better that they don't fucking care about this sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of don't want those guys to care about this sort of thing. I don't know if their opinions are going to be good on this stuff. So, like, let him focus on Amber Heard shit, okay? Please.
It's not, because red flag laws aren't designed to punish the politically loyal. And that's why you get scenes like this in New Orleans, which the police do nothing about. Watch.
Hey, I'm an Asmongold fan and I agree with you. This is not even about Asmongold. This is about people who still care about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard shit. If you are the type of person who still cares about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard shit, then yeah, don't worry about this stuff. Like, I promise. No, it's cool. Just, this has nothing to do with Asmongold. Yeah, Captain Jack Sparrow. Yeah, it's crazy.
Tell your shorty get the car, go. We finna slide. Yeah, man. We got the donuts.
What? I don't get it. Is he saying that, like, these guys, these are law-abiding citizens who should be able to have their weapons? Because, you know, you got, like, domestic abusers in the police force that do similar things. They're just not black or brown. And you spent the first 13 minutes, like, functionally defending those people, only to turn around and be like, the Democrats aren't doing anything about black people that have guns. Like, this is just like, what is going on? Like, if Tucker Carlson says, listen, I don't want those motherfuckers to have those guns, I agree. I agree with you, Tucker. Pretty sure I also am expanding on that across the board. Whereas you are like, black and brown people shouldn't have guns, but, like, I think that white people that do the same shit, like domestic abuse, anything like that, those guys, those guys should have the guns.
About. Watch.
Tell your shorty get the car, go. We finna slide. Yeah, man. We got the donuts.
So,
also, that's good trigger discipline, for the record. I mean, you always have to. I mean, he doesn't even have his finger on the trigger, okay, for the record.
Hey, John Cornyn, will your legislation do anything about that? Because anybody who's okay with that, or what's happening in downtown Chicago.
Who is okay with that? Like, literally, who the fuck? Are you fucking serious? Hey, man, I was joking. I don't know if you know that. When I said that's good trigger discipline, that was a joke. But, like, no one is okay with that, dude. Like, not a single person, unless you're like a white Naperville Andy who, like, watches the No Jumper podcast and you're like, yeah, slide. Lil Durk won't slide. What the fuck, Lil Durk? You said you'd slide. Come on. Why'd you get a tattoo of King Von instead of going out and murdering people? Like, unless you're one of those fucking idiots, no one thinks that's sick. Okay? Come on, slide. Kill the ops, bro. It's like, dude, you're 14 years old. You just want more, like fucking black people to kill each other for your own personal entertainment. You fucking sick little freak. Come on, bro. Stop making songs about dating women and stuff and, like, avenge King Von. Anyway. But yeah, no one, and I mean, no fucking person looks at that and goes, yo, no, this is tight. Like, this is great. No, that's like, that's not good either. What are you even talking about right now? I just, I just brought up a bunch of references about a lot of things that piss me off about the way that the rap world engages, like the way that the industry, the music industry fucking, treats like young black men like they're fucking gladiator slaves, basically, and urges them to get into trouble and greatly accelerates beefs and monetizes it, as a matter of fact, because it doesn't matter if they're fucking dead or alive or in jail. All of those situations will end up boosting album sales. So I think you were saying this is a black cheddar from a hip hop family. Wish my uncle was alive right now.
Chicago or downtown Baltimore, Gary, Indiana, or Detroit. Just pick a city. Every day of the week, fix those things and get back to me about the AR in my closet. By the way, in New Orleans, the Soros-backed DA there, Jason Williams, isn't worried about what you just saw. Last year, his office dismissed more than 60% of violent felony cases that came to his office, most of them involving firearms. They just dismissed them. These are the people worried about gun crime.
I don't think that he's dismissing gun violence and gun crimes as a fucking New Orleans DA specifically to defend black people. Just a thought. My friend, he is in the state of Louisiana. Are you familiar with the laws of Louisiana? Like, specifically as it pertains to gun laws? Or should I say lack thereof? It's Louisiana, bro. What the fuck?
For perspective, the previous administration dismissed only 16% of those cases. Another Soros-backed DA in Philadelphia has a similar record. In the first half of last year...
I love that these are all Soros-backed DAs. Dude, this is so funny. The reason why they fucking get up the asses of all these people is because they're tough on cops, okay? They're not as fucking tough on... what do you call it? I mean, yeah, dude, look at this. Look at this, dude. Look at this, dude. Intentional homicide rate per 100,000 residents. Look at that. Represent, brother. Fucking-zent. What on God's green earth is wrong with the bayou? We were one of the most brutal slave ports in the U.S. and did nothing to mitigate the damage, corruption, or neglect in governance, disappearing taxes, generational poverty, extraordinary ignorance, a justice system that has historically harassed, incarcerated for trivialities, but had not protected people, a disorganized drug trade. Louisiana is a state where the fucking sheriff will literally be like, nah, we need slaves.